Is it time to start shopping Tyreek Hill in your dynasty leagues? What NFC South running back just got a huge ringing endorsement from his head coach and is one NFC tight end a steal at his current FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament ADP? Plus, Craig Campbell, a winner of 6 leagues in the FFPC alone in 2022, as well as one of the most successful KFFSC players ever, and a guy who's coming off a $100,000 win last season, will join us to talk about his favorite Giants receiver to draft in 2023, whether Isaiah Pacheco is a nice buy in the FFPC right now, and much more. We've got a great show for you. Farrell Elliott is here. I'm Eric Balkman. Stick around. Your high-stakes fantasy football hour starts now.
Under pressure, I've seen greater men that need a lesson.
Broadcast live and heard around the world, you are now watching the most entertaining hour of radio on the planet. Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com with your hosts Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour is your home for analysis from the best players in the world. And now, because no one else was available, here are Eric Balkman and Farrell Elliott.
Solace in the scripture, are we not all our father's sons? I became a man, nobody ever told me what a man was.
Thank you, Rob. Greetings and salutations, all you Balkaholics and Farelliacs. Welcome to the latest episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. I'm, of course, your slightly above average, not average, I'm still slightly above average, host Eric Balkman. You know me from the High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network, the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown, and the FFPC, myffpc.com, the Fantasy Football Players Championship. My co-host, who I'll bring in shortly, is the definitive commissioner of fantasy football, Farrell Elliott. I want to let you know if you are jonesing, ladies and gentlemen, and who wouldn't be jonesing, as we are less than 3 weeks away until the 2023 NFL Draft. You want to draft right now? You can do that. You can win $25,000 when you do so with the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. $125 entry fee right now at myffpc.com. You can cash a 5-figure grand prize. The great thing about this, no kickers, no defenses, and the draft stop when the NFL Draft starts. So you have less than 3 weeks to get your drafts in. It's a 20-round draft. 14-week regular season. We'll have playoffs in the week 50 from weeks 15 to 17, and we'll crown a champion after week 17. A 30-second, 60-second, 2-hour, and 6-hour clock are available to you in that right now. While you are at myffpc.com, why not take a shot for $1 million? Say, Balky, I don't have that kind of cash. I can't play for $1 million. Well, you say that, but you might have it. $350 is all it's going to take to enter the Fantasy Pros Championship, a contest that will pay out a $1 million grand prize. And the impetus is on you to draft right now, because if you do before June 1st, or if you register before June 1st and draft before June 15th, you will get a free $35 FFPC league credit to your account right now, and you'll get that up to 3 times if you do it 3 times. That's over $100 in free FFPC teams when you register for the Fantasy Pros Championship Early Bird by June 1st and draft by June 15th. I know you love redraft, okay? But while you're at myffpc.com, check out the Dynasty Orphans we have there as well. Massively reduced price teams that are ready to go right now, and you can compete. I'll tell you what, I can't play in the FFPC at all because I'm an employee of it, but I just picked up in a private dynasty league with Jake Venuti, Dave Gerzak, Ron Meyer, Michael Cobb, Lance Turbis. The list goes on and on and on. Lou Tranquilli is in that league as well, and I'm flying high right now because I cannot wait to attack that Dynasty Orphan team. You can attack your Dynasty Orphan teams right now. And when you go to myffpc.com, pick up your Dynasty Orphans. And don't forget, we launch $100 startup leagues there as well. So if you want to set sail on a maiden voyage, you can do so right now. $100 Dynasty starts available at myffpc.com. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment on this video, share this video, and get notified anytime we go live. We just had a big night last night. I was on with JJ Zachariason for the Better Sports Network's High Stakes Fantasy Football Show. Aiden LaCourrier and Dave Terpoli gave you a live Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament pick-by-pick coverage right on this channel as well. You don't want to miss this stuff. This is what makes you a better FFPC player. So make sure you are subscribing to this channel so you never miss when we go live, and you can check out all the great stuff we have to offer over at myffpc.com, the FFPC YouTube channel, FFPC Twitter, and FFPC Facebook as well. Without further ado, you follow the KFFSC on Twitter at KFFSC Official. You play in the KFFSC at KFFSC.com. And of course, you know this guy, my friend, Farrell Elliott. Welcome in, Farrell. Happy April to you, dude.
How are you, my friend? And all the cool kids over at RotoViz hanging out in those private leagues, and you dropping all those names. I am green with envy.
Well, listen, Farrell, maybe when I win this league, this private league that I just joined this year, and I orphan in a couple of years, you can take over, or maybe be a co-owner with me, and we can return it to Resurgence.
A father of all things, and you're definitely not going to work on the team in that kind of. No, come on, it's
no, I won't.
Absolutely.
I will not do that. It's going to be my baby. I look forward to it, and you can look forward to. If Farrell's done this too, he's picked up plenty of orphans and managing them to dynasty greatness at myffpc.com.
That's a good-looking cap you have on tonight.
Yeah, thank you. It's this is from so I go to my ice fishing not competition, but my ice fishing get together with all my high school friends every year. This is from the bar that is right down the road from where we set up camp at our cabin. This is Mixters, which is in Clintonville, Wisconsin, sort of northeast, maybe mid-east Wisconsin. It is straight out of Wisconsin, as the hat would say, straight out of Wisconsin Mixters. I got this there, and I love it. It is a great hat. I am wearing my Wisconsin pride tonight. I don't think this is the last Wisconsin / Aaron Rodgers / Green Bay Packers / Jordan Love / whatever reference we will have tonight on the show. I think it's going to be one of many. We cannot bring up all this news right now, Farrell, without bringing in our guest tonight, who has been so gracious to hang out with us for the entire hour. He's been playing fantasy football, high-stakes fantasy football now for nearly 20 years, primarily in the FFPC and the KFFSC. He's won multiple league titles in the FFPC main event, the FPC, the Terminator, FFPC Dynasty, and the KFFSC. He got his biggest win of his career last season. He took down the 2021-2022 FFPC Divisional Round Playoff Challenge and the $100,000 that goes with it. That wasn't good enough for him because in 2022, and I don't know exactly what he did in KFFSC, but I know he crushed it last year. Yeah. In the FFPC last year, Farrell, this guy won a half dozen leagues, high school leagues in the FFPC last year. You already follow him on Twitter at @CCampbellFF. Please welcome back onto the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour, our mutual friend and longtime competitor in the FFPC and KFFSC, Craig Campbell. Craig, welcome in, man.
Thanks, guys. How's it going? Yeah, Balky, I don't know where you found those 6 leagues, but it definitely didn't feel like as successful a season for me. But I'm glad you found them, so appreciate that.
Well, you're very welcome. And I'll tell you this. For a guy who wins $100,000 the previous year, ain't no many there ain't enough leagues that you can win the following year where it seems like you had a successful year. So congratulations on a baller 6-figure win last season. We could get into the news right away tonight, but I want to skip over that, Farrell. I want to get into Craig's interview right away. So let's do that. I'll kick things off because, Craig, you have been very active in drafting the FFPC Never Too Early tournament teams so far this season, the last couple of months. And for anybody who's curious about, how do I not only not embarrass myself, but how do I draft successful teams that I'm going to be happy with in November, December, and January? What are the secrets? What are the tips and tricks you can reveal to our viewers tonight that is going to help them be a better early drafter?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure if I have all the secrets. More so, just tickets burning a hole in my pocket there on the site. Wanting to get in these drafts, but I'll give it my best shot. Yeah, I mean, it's really just, I think, to me, kind of embracing the uncertainty of the situation. I guess drafting before the actual NFL draft, and really, to me, not buying into maybe some of the situations you don't believe in. And then also, just drafting. I mean, to me, just drafting, the good players. Obviously, we're all trying to do that. But, not buying into the situations as much because we know the NFL draft is obviously going to destroy a lot of those. So yeah, that's in general the strategy I'm trying to take is just trying to just trying to draft good teams and not embarrass myself like you said.
See, Balky, I've known Craig Campbell since he was a mere lad, and I remember him fondly of those days. You know, he's the only guy that ever showed up at the event that I had to get an ID from. I had to make sure that he was of legal age to be there. He's a fantastic player. Commentary from the Dizzle, he is a baller. Love that guy. Every draft, every room is better when Craig Campbell is in it. And, you know, he's not going to give up any of his tricks of the trade, but he quietly goes about his business. And, yeah, he just keeps stacking up wins. Now, Craig, you've never seen a fantasy contest you don't like. General Manager Schoen and head coach Dayball at the Giants apparently have never seen a slot receiver they don't like. I'm curious, perhaps it's because they've had so many injuries. Perhaps it's because other teams are not valuing these players. I noticed that Richie James got out of there and is headed over to Kansas City, so that's -1. But do you have favorites in this lineup? And what do you think with the addition of the tight end Waller that they're looking to do with that position? How important is this position? I know that they've had injuries even before their time. They had Tony who was injured. Shepard is continually injured and still under contract. Your thoughts on the Giants slot receiver position, a position that should, with that quarterback, see some significant play?
Yeah, I guess it does kind of seem like they're maybe gotten a little bit injury scared, I guess, from everything that's gone on last year. But yeah, I mean, I still like Wan'Dale Robinson. I mean, he definitely flashed last year. I'm pretty big on drafting the second year wide receivers. Usually, those are the guys who are going to take a big leap. Going into that second year. I like Wan'Dale, and then also, Paris Campbell coming in there, kind of again another guy that just seems to be bitten by the injury bug the last few years, and always getting a lot of hype. But yeah, I mean, I don't know the situation there. If one of them can emerge, I mean, that's going to be a lot of fantasy value there, I think.
You think? I'm sorry, Balky. You
go ahead. No, go ahead, please, Farrell.
Do you think Waller is in essence a slot receiver, especially with Bellinger on the roster and on the field, a two tight end set with Waller essentially running out of the slot, much like in the way they tried to use Ingram, who would occasionally make an effort to catch a ball. Waller, a better player in this situation, I think that's good too. But so, Are you going to target one of these receivers? I like the X receivers. I like the Y receivers. I like a lot of things about this offense, but we've got a quarterback that's never been prolific throwing touchdowns. So there's a lot of competitions for those scores. Well, to service all these receivers like we would like in fantasy football, he's going to have to double his touchdown pass production.
Yeah, I mean, they're not all going to hit, but I mean, at the very least, they're all going pretty late. So, you take your shots on one of them, one or two of them in a draft, and then hopefully you have someone that's going to outproduce their draft value by a significant amount. So, I think Wan'Dale, he's still going late enough to where you can take a shot at him in the double-digit rounds and still, I think, come out on top there, and then. Paris Campbell also. But to your point, Waller kind of functions also as that slot receiver. So it's going to be interesting to see how, Dayball kind of just fits them all in there.
I think what we have to look at here, guys, is the fact that this administration went out and traded for Darren Waller. This administration went out and drafted Wan'Dale Robinson. Those are the two guys I'm looking at. Yeah, Crowder and Campbell and these guys are there. And obviously they lost Richie James to the Where did he sign today? Richie James. He go to the Broncos?
He is playing for the Kansas City Chiefs.
Chiefs. That's what it was. He signed with the Chiefs today. So they lost Richie James. And obviously Slayton and Shepard are there. But I think that the two guys that you guys have brought up here in Waller and Robinson, those are the two guys I'm very heavily interested in as far as Giants pass catchers. Right now, Dizzle already pointed out that they need a receiver in the draft. We could see that happen yet. Now, to get back to the Dizzle here, and I'm going to post his question right in the chat. Craig, he has noticed you going 0 RB in a lot of your drafts. He wants to know, do you always go 0 RB in your drafts? And if you can talk a little bit about that strategy and how it's worked out for you in the past, that would be much appreciated by the viewers tonight.
Yeah, you're not going to get that.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, definitely not always going to go 0 RB. I guess I just don't want to. I'm not one of these guys that are going to. I see some of these drafters going, just full on, I guess, robust RB, as some would call it, with 4 or 5 running backs in a row. I definitely don't subscribe to that theory. Yeah, I mean, I generally, going 0 RB, that's always fun. But, if you can get good values on some of these workhorse running backs, drafting a running back or two early, and then kind of just forgetting about the position and really ignoring those middle round running backs, I think that's also a good strategy to take, especially in these early drafts. I think there's a lot of minefields out there with these middle round running backs, getting those, maybe top 2 running backs so you can feel really good about that their value isn't going to get hit in the NFL draft, get those 2 guys, and then, draft a bunch of receivers after that. So definitely don't go 0 RB all the time. Although Farrell and KFFSC, that's definitely my preferred strategy.
He has been raised. He's a Kentucky man. He's been raised, and he knows how to make this.
I'll tell you what, and I can't remember if it was this show I brought it up on, but I don't know if you guys are Office fans, but there was one episode after Steve Carell left The Office, and I promise the story will be brief. But when James Spader took over as it probably won't be. Spader took over as the Robert California, absolutely. And he was having this big pool party at his mansion with all the players in the office, all the different workers there. And he told, I think it was Ryan and Gabe, he said, it's not a party unless you do something that scares you. Well, let me tell you something about KFFSC. I get scared every time I go 0 RB in a KFFSC main event. But it's not KFFSC unless I do something that scares me. And let me tell you, I love it. And there's been some success that I've had in doing that. So it's one of those things you always feel skittish about it. And I've had it blow up in my face too in the main event. But I've had some really successful teams there too. And I will continue doing that because I drafted multiple leagues in the KFFSC main event, which I would encourage everybody to do. And when I do that, I have the opportunity to go 0 RB, and I've had a lot of fun doing it. And it's always more enjoyable when I have a 0 RB team, or at least multiple 0 RB teams going. Speaking of 0 RB, let's talk receivers here. Everybody and their mother, Craig, wants to draft CeeDee Lamb this year with Dalton Schultz moving on to Houston. And you look at the other 2 receivers they have there in Brandon Cooks and Michael Gallup. I'm kind of curious, if you're going with the number 2 receiver in Dallas, who are you more comfortable with given the draft capital? Brandon Cooks is wide receiver 43. Michael Gallup is going in the 16th round at wide receiver 76. Brandon Cooks is a 9th round pick. When you know that 8 rounds separates these guys, do you have a favorite between Gallup and Cooks this year? Or is it something where you wouldn't mind getting Prescott and grabbing both these guys in your never too early best ball teams?
Yeah, I mean, both of these players I've drafted a lot in the past, and I've drafted them on teams this year as well. I mean, I just think that that's a great situation to be there, be in Dallas with Dak there and with Schultz exiting. So in terms of comparing the two, the value on Gallup is pretty enticing now with Cooks there, and you're just everyone's just assuming that Gallup's going to take the number 3 role, which is probably right. But I kind of think that he might be in for a little bit of a bounce back this year, just because he was kind of slow, I guess, coming back from the ACL last year, and I think he might be in for a little bit of a better season. But I do get excited, thinking about Cooks just in tandem with CeeDee Lamb. Just that seems like a great pairing also. So not to ride the fence there, but I think I'm going to be drafting both of those guys at their current values.
How many clubs has Cooks played for now? Is this number 5?
I think it's 5. Yeah, I'll look it up for verification, but I'm pretty sure you're right, Farrell. I think it's 5.
But he's a plus. He's a plus guy in the locker room, a respected guy, a well-liked guy. I don't, good for him. Lots of players have difficulty getting contracts after they've been tremendous players for their own teams. Everybody wants this player and everybody spends to get him. I think fantasy drafters will spend to get him as well. Let's go north. Let's go to Green Bay, where I have become a lonesome supporter of Jordan Love, Craig. I think it's going to be good. I think we talked about the other quarterbacks that were in his class last year or during his draft year and how they've done well. And he's been the one that's had to wait. And what's going to help him do well is a stat line that improves over a 17-game season, 41, 6-11, and 7. That's Christian Watson. And how fantastic it was when he started putting those touchdowns together. Christian Watson of value now in these never too early drafts, more so than he even was perhaps last year, because everyone imagined how well he would do with Aaron Rodgers. Your thoughts on Christian Watson?
Yeah, I'm a buyer on him. Like I was saying earlier, these second year wide receivers I think are just at a high level. Those are guys I want to target. In terms of the the Jordan Love situation, like I guess I don't think the Packers would just be letting Rodgers walk without having some level of confidence in Love. I don't think it's going to be a I don't know, Justin Fields. I don't know. There were so many quarterbacks last year that just could not deliver the ball to these wide receivers, and I don't. I think Love. I do have confidence he can get the ball to Watson or Dubs or whoever. But Watson definitely looks like the guy you want there, and I think is a pretty good value in drafts right now.
Balky, so the Kentucky guys love Love. So you're sitting right up there, buddy. What's the story?
I'm telling you, listen.
What do the people up there say?
Listen, I wrote the foreword and the epilogue on Jordan Love in February when I drafted him in a KFFSC main event, okay? Everybody knows that, like I would never draft Jordan Love as my starting quarterback, but I like this guy quite a bit. Now, I said this. I was on Sirius this morning, and I said this, anybody who tells you they know what Jordan Love is going to be, they're lying, misinformed, or a moron, because there just isn't enough to go on. I go on what I've heard from his teammates, from his coaching staff, from the guys he went up against in Philadelphia for that couple series last year, and everybody who's seeing him in practice every day. I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, Farrell.
Balky just called us morons.
No, I'm not calling you morons.
You did.
What are
you drinking, Greg?
Listen,
what are you drinking?
Here's the thing. If you feel like you have an
H2O, baby.
Like you feel like, listen, if you feel like you think what Jordan Love is going to be, like, that's fine. But it's just speculation because nobody has enough to go on with this guy right now. I happen to think he's going to be pretty good, and I'm willing to take a chance on that. But I'm not willing to take a chance on, okay, I'm going to wait on quarterback super late, and Jordan Love is going to be my starter. I'm going to count on him every single game. That's not going to be the case. I do believe that he was drafted for a purpose. I do believe that the coaching staff and the front office is going to give him every possible chance to be successful in this league, and I think he will be successful. I think he will go to Pro Bowls, Farrell and Craig. And I don't think he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but I think he's going to be a successful quarterback. And I think this is the type of guy that, where's he going? I look at the never too early right now, the never too early ADP. Jordan Love currently going as quarterback 21 at the 12-11. I would be comfortable in saying that I think when this rolls around next year, I think he's going to be going in that 8-9 turn, maybe even the 7th round next year. I think he's going to have a pretty good season. That's how I fall in on Jordan Love. I could be wrong. I don't have I like everything like everybody else has to go on. I'm going off the same information. I just happen to have a feeling about this guy. I think he's going to be pretty good.
Team Appleton, team name, Morons Need Love. I think that would be a grand team name for you guys this year. Morons Need Love.
Morons need love has been that's been my personal motto for 20 years, Farrell. Like that's not even a fantasy.
You're doing all right.
I'm doing all right. I'm doing all
You're
right.
doing okay in that department.
Let me ask you this, Craig. Isaiah Pacheco, a guy that I was talking with JJ Zachariason about this last night, and he was kind of on Pacheco in the pre-draft process, pre-NFL draft process last year, and he was right. And I feel like everybody had that benefit. Now everybody's had the benefit of seeing what he did for Kansas City last year, and yet this dude is still going outside the top 20 running backs in the Never Too Early Best Ball ADP, which we get from FantasyMojo.com, at FantasyMojo on Twitter. Darren Armani, the godfather of the Pros versus Joe's Challenge. Isaiah Pacheco, 609 right now. Is he being undervalued, knowing what we saw last year, knowing what Kansas City has done in the offseason? I know he's got to dodge some bullets in the NFL draft upcoming, but Pacheco right now at the end of the 6th round, is that undervalued right now by the FFPC high stakes drafters?
Yeah, I guess I guess I would fall in the camp of being a little bit worried about his situation there. Yeah, definitely dodged some bullets, I guess, or dodged some bullets in the free agency, but there still are a lot of, I guess, free agent running backs out there waiting to be signed. And then I just think back to the last time the Chiefs won the Super Bowl and how they used their first round pick the following year, and get a little bit.
What do we lose? Do we lose Craig?
He's hanging around.
He's frozen. He's frozen.
He's hanging around.
He's frozen. While we get him back, Farrell, your thoughts on Pacheco as a late 6th round draft pick in the Never Too Early tournament?
You know, every time that I target him for the 6th round and he wiggles off the proverbial hook, somebody else grabs him. I wish I had taken him earlier. I like the way he runs. He runs with great. He runs hard. And for a guy that size, it seems like in the 4th quarter he's running harder than he is at the start of the game. So I really like this. I really like this player, and in the best ball, I would love to have him at that position. And I wish I had. In the 4 Never Too Early teams that I have drafted, I've only got him once, and that's because I waited too long, thinking that more people feel like Craig about him than I do, and I can understand trepidation, but that's the beauty of the best ball. Is you can put him on the club, you don't have to start him. So,
right.
And so that's a good thing. You know, we had Craig on earlier this year, and he had some internet issues. He may have to transition to his phone.
It's entirely possible.
The Dizzle did not like my team name, but did agree with me on Cooks. So I feel okay. I feel okay.
What, like on the flip side of I guess not really the flip side, but on the other side of the Kansas City Chiefs running back situation, Farrell, Clyde Edwards-Helaire bounce back. I mean, because this guy is free in drafts, you can have him wherever. I don't really know what the Chiefs have in store for him this year. He is a former 1st round pick, so is there something to be said for CEH?
I think there is. He's, yes, and in that format. Again, that's what's good about it. And yeah, he's a 20th round pick. Oh, there he is. He's transitioned to the phone. And then
hopefully you guys can hear me. Yeah, I know. Sorry.
You sound even better. You can't get any more handsome, but you sound even better. You know,
just my luck. My internet went out during this call. So yeah, I'm running good there. But I don't know how much you got of my Pacheco response, but just a little bit, I guess, concerned about maybe the Casey's plan to maybe add another back. But
Well, I think they're going to add another back in Philadelphia. They've messed with success there. I look at when Miles Sanders had such the poor touchdown year that drove our friend Dave Turp crazy, and I remember that Boston Scott that year rushed for 7 touchdowns. Sanders moves his game south to Carolina. I wonder, Boston Scott, an increased role forthcoming, and where Kenneth Gainwell falls with that. And that's what keeps me from moving Gainwell up the draft board. What do you think about those running back situations in Philadelphia? And is that a situation where we see perhaps a free agent landing or one of the bigger draft picks?
Yeah, I guess I would say maybe they're I could be wrong, but they might be done there with adding, I guess, any significant running backs to the stable. To me, just having, I guess, Penny, Gainwell, and also Scott there, it seems like they might be comfortable. And also, Philly just doesn't seem like they want to invest a whole lot into the running back position financially. So they got Penny on the cheap. I think just going with that kind of a three-headed backfield with them is maybe what they're going to do. Could be wrong there, but as far as investing, go ahead.
Who thinks that Penny is going to complete the season or play 17?
No,
is anyone of that opinion?
I would be a buyer on still on Gainwell and maybe Scott late, just because Penny has obviously flashed, but never shown the ability to stay on the field. And if you look at what kind of contract he got, did not get big money whatsoever. So I would be looking at the Penny signing as an opportunity to maybe buy on Gainwell at a little bit cheaper cost.
Craig, we got Dizzle is talking about Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs in the chat room. And he said the rumors are out there, and I've seen them too, is either the Cowboys or the Eagles to take either one if they are available. You've already made your point clear on the Eagles running back situation, but I am curious, when we talk about Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, as a dynasty player, as a redraft player, and I don't know how many shares of either one that you have right now, is there a preferred landing spot you would like to see them go? Given that both of them could go in the first round, but for sure both of these guys should be off the board in the second round. Are you rooting for either of these guys to land in a certain situation right now?
Honestly, no. To be completely honest with you, I have not done my rookie research probably enough as I should have, and I'm kind of waiting for the draft just to kind of figure out where the landing spots are. I hope that one of them they don't go to Dallas, though. I'd like to see Pollard get his opportunity, kind of being the workhorse there. But I know Dallas, they love to draft their running backs, so I could definitely see that happening.
Let's talk about the Atlanta Falcons. Again, another spot that Bijan Robinson could technically go in the NFL draft, but I want to focus in on the pass catchers there. Are you expecting a bigger FFPC season, tight end premium, as you know, from Kyle Pitts or from Drake London in 2023, Craig? They are separated by about a half round in the Never Too Early Best Ball tournament right now in the FFPC. Which one do you think has the bigger season this year?
Yeah, I guess in terms of the bigger season, a vacuum, probably London, maybe. But I guess you made, the point being in the FFPC format, just having that, that stud tight end is really, so valuable. And, would feel like a kind of an idiot being, I bought Pitts, at his draft cost in the second round, almost in the first round last year, I think on a couple of main event teams, and then not buying him when he's, third, maybe into the fourth round this year. Who knows where he ends up? But I'm going to probably give him another chance this year to see if he can turn it around. And, it usually does take these tight ends, even the really, the guys with a lot of draft capital, a year or two to figure it out. So probably going to buy in on Pitts this year and give it another shot.
I can't wait to hear all the Kyle Pitts truthers out there with the hashtag "See I Told You So's" tweets on the internet. Can't wait for that because it definitely could happen this year. Hey, Craig, we got another question from the YouTube chat right now. Former guest of the show, Jay Reed, piping in, a guy who you've competed against in not only the FFPC but the KFFSC as well. Other than Bijan Robinson, is there another rookie running back that you would look at in the first 4 rounds right now? Now, in the Never Too Early tournament, Bijan Robinson is the only guy going in the top 4 rounds. He is on average at the end of the first round. But then you think about guys like Jahmyr Gibbs, Zach Charbonnet, Rashawn Johnson, Devon Achane. All those guys are going after Robinson. Would you look at any of those guys in the top 4 rounds, or after Robinson, are they all kind of the same?
They all kind of fall into the same camp for me. Honestly, maybe Gibbs. He's obviously going kind of the highest among those other running backs, and like I said, I'm kind of, I'll take a few of them in these drafts just if they fall far enough past their ADP. And, I'm looking, my team needs a running back, I guess, at that spot. But there's no one I'm targeting in particular right now.
Mm-hmm. There are so many good ones that I would like to see where they land first before I get. That's why we call it never too early. But I guess in my case, it is a bit early. And of course, Craig, you're not up on your rookies like you would be because naturally you on Super Bowl Sunday you were not at Caesars. We're not holding that against you by anything, but we do have the Caesars 2024 Super Bowl invitation. Yours is the first to go out. Balky, we got any emails?
We do, but do you want me to do them now? Otherwise, do you want me to skip over the NFL draft question for Craig?
Well, I think we just had it. We wanted to talk about more rookies, and I think we beat Craig to death about the rookies because you just might have heard he was not at Caesars for the
right. Exactly. Yes. So we will skip over that, and we will have, by the way, much more draft coverage coming up on the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour in the next couple of weeks. We got a lot of stuff that you want to pick our brains, pick Farrell's brain, pick my brain, pick our guest brains coming up. We'll definitely have that. I am having a problem loading my emails right now for whatever reason.
Oh my goodness! I have something I want to talk about.
Ask him that, and then I'll get back to this.
Can I pretend that I'm emailing you guys this right while I'm emailing it to myself?
This is coming from Farrell in Louisville, Kentucky. Farrell, what do you have to say?
There's a whole lot of conversation about what's going on in Tampa Bay in the backfield. They're going to make the player, the running back, their draft pick from last year. Is it White? Yes. They're going to make him a 3-down back, which I think I've looked at their depth chart, and I think by necessity, they're going to have to make him a 3-down back. Last year, they were last in rushing in the entire league, and they had a pretty bruising back with Leonard Fournette there. But what I want to do is get away from that because what I've noticed, Craig, in the never too earlys is our Tampa Bay wide receivers have fallen like rocks because it appears that no one, including myself, believes or can trust on a week-to-week basis Baker Mayfield. And maybe Balky will have Mr. Armani's numbers on Evans and Godwin. But what I think is going to happen, and this is what I want your opinion on. I don't understand why Kyle Trask is not being talked about as a quarterback. We've got a new offensive coordinator who the quarterback guru, Canales, who was at Seattle last year. We've got a player here that's 6'5" tall, a classic drop back passer who dominated the SEC. And, when it comes to college football, it's not the NFL, but when you can find a guy that dominates the SEC, I kind of like that. And he's got a rocket for an arm, all the arm talent, good enough, slippery enough to get away. Does anyone believe that Baker Mayfield is not going to be the quarterback at Tampa? And this Trask kid is, and if he is, I believe we're making it terrible. We're terribly avoiding Evans because Trask sees the field. Trask can unload it, and Evans can run under it, and that nothing's going to change. So my thoughts are Trask should get on the field for Tampa. He's not being drafted in any of these leagues, and I wonder if anybody shares that opinion or has looked at it.
Yeah, I guess I'm still confused as to what who the quarterback's going to be there, whether it be Trask or Mayfield or possibly a draft pick. So your guess is as good as mine there. I guess I kind of look at the ADPs and the wide receivers though and say they're going pretty low just based on the uncertainty around the quarterback position. And I think I saw this on Twitter. I don't know who to credit for this, but the situation kind of reminds me of the Seattle situation last year with Metcalf and Lockett, and how, everyone was just tanking their ADPs because they, who's going to throw them the ball, but someone's going to throw them the ball, and the target tree around them, it's going to be very condensed around both Godwin and Evans and not much else. So I whoever that quarterback might be, Trask or whoever else, I think those wide receivers are still going to produce. Granted, hopefully it's not someone that's completely terrible, but I think they're both good. They're both good bets right now in drafts.
Well, Craig, you can see the ADP right now that I displayed from Fantasy Mojo. In the Never Too Early tournament, Chris Godwin is a top 24 receiver going in the early 5th round. Mike Evans is a back end number 3 receiver going at the 705, the mid 7th round. To me, I look at those, and maybe it's recency bias, but I feel like that's the spots I want to be in business with those guys. Does that represent accurate ADP for you to want to draft either Godwin or Evans?
Yeah, I mean, I think those are both good spots for them. I mean, I like Evans going in the 7th round. I mean, the guy is how many straight seasons of 1,000 yards that going in the 7th round? That seems like something you want to gamble on there. But
let's. I do have my emails now, Farrell. So I'll pitch him to Craig here. He'll knock him out of the park. Dylan in Charlotte wants to know, how do you feel about? Is this accurate? Yeah. How do you feel about Saquon Barkley in the early 3rd round this season? Nice work in the playoff challenge. That is Dylan in Charlotte, North Carolina. I don't think he's going. Is that accurate? I don't think that's accurate. No. He's not going to that in the early.
I think that's a question you asked me last year, actually.
Yeah, that's not. This is totally not accurate. I hold on. Let me bring up my correct emails here, because this is. I read that and I was like, God, that's like. I feel like I'm looking at I'm in a time machine right now, and
but
I am.
Balky, what we have is confidence that you will retrieve these emails, because we're enjoying associating with a broadcast professional, and that's exactly what we're doing.
Not displaying any kind of professionalism now with that. I knew it right away. I'm like, God, there's no way that's right. Okay, I have my right email document up right now. And the first question is not from Charlotte, North Carolina. It's from Billy in Milledgeville, Georgia. Is now the time to make deals to get Trey McBride on my dynasty teams? Appreciate it, Craig. That is Billy in Milledgeville, Georgia. So Trey McBride right now, we have the benefit of seeing him a full year. What do you think about Trey McBride now in dynasty? And I think you have him in a couple of teams right now, right, Craig?
I do, yes. And he was kind of a guy that was right on the cut line there of trying to get to 16 players. But that was someone I was trying to keep on my rosters. I mean, he was a pretty high end prospect coming out last year. And I think, he flashed towards the end of the season, and, Ertz, I guess, coming back from the ACL, who knows on him. So, that's a guy I see with, that has a lot of upside, that's, still going very late in redraft leagues also this year, that I think you can spend a late round pick on and see what happens.
We have a next email here. It's not an email at all. It's a YouTube comment from Dave the Dizzle Gerzak in Appleton, Wisconsin. Out of 5 stars, Craig, what rating would you give the movie Hot Tub Time Machine? I'm going to assume 1 star means it sucked. 5 stars, it's awesome. Have you ever seen it? And what rating would you give it?
I guess I have to come clean here. I've actually never seen that movie. It's I might have to, I'll after I get off here, I'll maybe, pop it on maybe.
The Dizzle is on fire tonight. There's not enough people in the chat room to see it. He's got great phonetic situations of certain names, and the professor's not here. It's just one of the greatest performances that's being lightly attended. It just like Craig's movie list, lightly attended.
I will, in Dizzle's defense, I will give it 5 stars. That is a really enjoyable movie. Rob Corddry steals the show, in my opinion. I loved it. Stan in Plant City, Florida, Craig. Is Sean Tucker a nice value in the Never Too Early tournament right now? Sean Tucker and thank you for the email, Stan in Plant City, Florida. So we look at Sean Tucker out of Syracuse. This is a player who is running back 54 in the 13th round. We don't know what's going to happen to him in the NFL draft. Craig, do you have anything to say about Sean Tucker?
I guess what I'll say is, I think he has maybe have ended up on a few of my teams so far. He kind of falls into the category of the guys that, like I said, taking these rookie running backs that are going in the middle, 15th, 16th round, they can get drafted in a good situation, and all of a sudden we're drafting them in the third or fourth round after the NFL draft. So specifically for Tucker, I don't have anything. I don't have any great insights there, but it's just those types of profiles. I think you want to type of picks you want to make in the late rounds that it can really have an ADP spike after the draft.
Farrell, I'm fresh out of emails from 2023. So why don't you go ahead and ask Craig?
Yes. Well, I have an email that just came in.
Oh, go ahead, please.
Farrell, why? This is from Hendon Hooker, Knoxville, Tennessee. Farrell, why are not the guys in the caps, and especially the guy in the orange shirt, talking about me in fantasy football? Because I'm going to blow the doors off all these son of a bitches. Hendon Hooker from Tennessee. I just wanted to say his name once before the draft. Another guy that tore up the SEC. Perhaps we could do a show. And isn't that Superflex all about having extra quarterbacks?
Oh,
Maybe this is a Superflex guy, Craig. I find life too vexing to try to Superflex.
I really haven't gotten into the Superflex leagues yet. I need to make that my next thing. But I guess a Hooker is getting some hype going in the first round now. So maybe we have to pay attention to him.
Yes, pay a little attention.
I will say this, and I'm not making any predictions here, gentlemen. But if the Packers do end up consummating an Aaron Rodgers trade with the New York Jets, and they get that 42 and that 43 pick, which would give the Packers 42, 43, and 45. I would not be surprised if one of those picks is indeed Mr. Hendon Hooker going to Green Bay. Would not shock me at all. That said, he could still sneak into the first round. I like the talent. I saw what he did at Tennessee last year. There's a lot to love. He's old as dirt. I will say that. He is not a young quarterback, but there is something to be said for drafting a guy of that ilk when there are not 32 starting quarterbacks in this world. Take a chance on Hooker. Maybe he could be your quarterback for the next 10 years. I like it quite a bit. Farrell, I want to get into the Fantasy Flash with all the headlines with Craig. Before we do that, I think you have one final question for him.
Craig, I've got a final question. What are you doing with all that money? Balky wants to know. And also, who's just on your will not draft list?
Well, as far as all the money, whatever's left of it that the wife hasn't spent or the hasn't gone to daycare.
There he goes.
Lose Craig again.
Daycare knocked him out of it, and he is. I like him to start talking about those kids because he is. Yep, there he's coming back.
Got it.
Well,
Craig,
my internet just came back on, so now I think it switched over to the Wi-Fi. So, all right, Farrell. Second part of your question was it?
Somebody like Dave has brought up the fact. The Dizzle has brought up the fact that Will Levis might be too jacked up, which I think that means that he's got too much muscles. I think. Is there someone you don't like coming up in the upcoming draft? I had an old scout that never would call it the draft. He would call it the annual selection process. I always loved that, but that's beside the point. Is there anyone in this year's annual selection process or a veteran that you just don't want to be in business with? If they gave you an extra round, you still wouldn't draft him in the never too early.
Yeah, so I don't know about the rookies still. I'm gonna wait and see where they get selected. As far as guys going in the never too early, the veterans. I guess one guy is Tyler Allgeier, however you pronounce his name. This is kind of a player that falls into the category of these kind of being, at least in my opinion, getting propped up based on the situation in Atlanta and being the starting running back on that team currently. But it's someone I could definitely see his value taking a hit in the NFL draft. And so just where he's going right now is kind of in that zone where I'm going to pass on him and likely take maybe another running back or likely a wide receiver in that spot.
Farrell, and I don't want to let this Will Levis question go by because you guys are the Kentucky experts. Craig, I know you're a Louisville guy. Farrell, obviously, I know you're a Louisville guy, but Will Levis is a Kentucky guy. You are much closer in proximity to him than I am. Farrell, your thoughts on Will Levis, because this was a player that was sort of the de facto number 3 quarterback in the draft, and now he's fallen a distant number 4 behind Stroud, Young, and Richardson. Will Levis is a pro. Your thoughts?
A few of the scouts think he is a bit robotic in his motions, and that will cause problems in the NFL based on timing patterns. However, I doubt that he's not going to be a competitor and he's going to push someone for a job. But, we just talked about the guy down in Florida who has a terrific career in college and a high draft pick. I think it was the second round, and he's thrown 9 passes in the league so far. So it all depends about landing spot. He reminds me of Blake Bortles.
Craig, with Will Levis, is this a player in your dynasty leagues that you would be willing to take a chance on, given the short benches and everything there? What about Will Levis for you on your dynasty squads? How many teams do you imagine him being on this year?
Yeah, we'll see where he's going in these rookie drafts. Generally, I'm not. You just can't hold on to these guys too long, in at least in the FFPC leagues. If it does seem like he's going to get drafted into a situation where he's going to start immediately, I mean, it is a little bit interesting just based on his athleticism. So we'll see where he gets drafted, but I'm guessing unless he's a late pick that you can just kind of take a flyer on, probably not going to be on my teams.
Yeah, Superflex, totally interested in him. Other than that, I'm gonna say no. All right, we'll go rapid fire on these next subjects as we're already coming up on an hour here. Craig, I'm gonna throw this first one to you. News out of TMZ tonight that a criminal charge of aggravated menacing has now been refiled against Joe Mixon. This was dismissed about 2 months ago, but it was refiled today due to, quote, the discovery of new evidence during the investigative process. This according to the Cincinnati Police Department. This is from a road rage incident when Mixon allegedly, and I shouldn't say allegedly because I know this doesn't cover me on anything, and Mixon can sue me if he wants. Go ahead. I don't have anything. Come at me, Joe Mixon. But he brandished a firearm in an argument with a 43-year-old woman back in January. This was a day before the Bengals played the Bills in the divisional round of the playoffs. This is not the first time that Mixon's had a run-in with the law. May not be the last time either. Executive Vice President for the Cincinnati Bengals, Katie Blackburn, she said that, well, he's on the team right now, but she wouldn't say that he's going to be the starting running back in 2023. Craig, I don't know what you have in him in Dynasty right now with Joe Mixon. Your thoughts on not only redraft this year, but what you do with Joe Mixon in Dynasty leagues?
Yeah, I think I traded him away on the couple leagues I did have him before last season. I really have no idea. I mean, if he's going late enough in these redraft leagues, take a shot on him. Seems like with the way the legal situations kind of play out in the NFL, it just takes such a long time for something to happen. You can look at the Kamara situation from last year. So my guess is that he's going to catch on with another team, and his season's likely not going to be impacted. But I'm obviously not a legal expert, so we'll just kind of see what happens there. But yeah, if he's going late enough, and then Dave just put 10th round. I mean, yeah, taking a flyer in that round on him is probably good enough.
Yeah, the Dizzle pointing out in that $35 best ball tonight, he did go in the 10th round. I'm on board with you, Craig, there. I think he makes a lot of sense in the 10th round. Before that, I don't know. You're playing with fire. I always quote Joe Del Zanero. There's no such thing as a bad pick after the 10th round. And Joe Mixon bordering on the 10th round, I'm fine with that at that point.
Who said that, Walkie?
Joe Del Zanero, Baker Boy. Always.
I tell you what, we are dropping some names tonight, Craig. Look. I don't think we have to be a legal expert, but we can be a Brown expert. And the Brown family has very little tolerance for this kind of behavior in their city of Cincinnati, Ohio. And I think this guy's history with Cincinnati is quickly coming to an end. And you look at their depth chart at running back, and you understand what players they may be in the remainder of free agency, the June 1st cuts, and what we might be looking at in the draft from the Cincinnati Bengals. So
I rue the day I cut Travion Williams off my dynasty teams because right now it's looking pretty good. Farrell, Tyreek Hill had a bit of a bombshell yesterday on the Totally Offensive podcast that is hosted by current Kansas City Chiefs Gehrig, Dieter, and Anthony Sherman. Tyreek Hill said his plans are to play 10 seasons in the NFL and then retire after 2025 when he is coming off his age 31 season. He might want to move on to other business ventures and maybe coaching after that. He has been an All-Pro 5 times, won a Super Bowl. He's been voted to the Pro Bowl all 7 years in the league. I have to ask, dynasty leagues right now, are we concerned with this? Do we do anything different if we never heard this announcement from Tyreek Hill, if you do have any shares of him in dynasty leagues?
If I can, you're telling me I can get 3 more years of Tyreek Hill? I'll take
Yes.
3 more years of Tyreek Hill over just about anybody else in fantasy football. So
Okay.
I'll be fine with my Tyreek Hill.
Craig, I was talking with JJ Zacharyson about this last night. He's like, look, you're probably going to be looking at this guy. You're probably already looking at moving this guy in his age 31 season anyway, whether he announces this it's retirement now or not, or potential retirement now or not. Like, it's one of those things where, like, it's not really news, right?
Yeah, no, that's getting filed under the just something I'm going to ignore. I mean, yeah, three more seasons, or he'll probably change his mind anyway if he gets another contract. So, yeah, I'm not really listening to
that. Craig, listen to this though. Jeff Howe from The Athletic is reporting that the New England Patriots have, quote, quietly shown interest in adding another blue chip running back in the draft. Now, he also said in the same report on The Athletic that the Patriots want to build the running game around Ramondre Stevenson. However, they do have the whole 14th pick in the draft. They could be targeting Bijan Robinson there. You think about their new offensive coordinator, Bill O'Brien. He worked with Jahmyr Gibbs at Alabama. This is the time, like, if you're seriously worried about one of your running backs not being able to dodge these running back bullets in the draft, you move him right now. I don't know if you have Ramondre Stevenson anywhere, but for anybody who does, is this the time that you're willing to take less than 100 cents on the dollar to not have this headache going into the NFL draft in a few weeks?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it all depends on what someone's going to pay for him. But I mean, he has that risk there. I mean, but he, I guess, performed very well last year, and you got to figure they're going to bring someone in to have some competition with him. But I still like Stevenson, his pass catching profile and, the way he performed last year. I'm still willing to kind of hold on to him through the draft and see what happens.
All right, Farrell, let me throw this out. There's a lot of chatter about the Patriots at 14 right now. The Dizzle thinking that it's going to be Zay Flowers at 14. Godvernment, I think I got the pronunciation right, thinks they're taking Anton Harrison at 14, Marvin Mims in round 2, and he thinks Marvin Mims is going to be Deontay Johnson of the league. That's interesting as well. I do have to go off, Farrell. I'm going to throw this to you from another question from Godvernment. We haven't talked about Jerry Jeudy or any of the Broncos receivers. What are you doing with him in your dynasty leagues? And Craig, I'll ask you to answer this after Farrell, but your thoughts on Jerry Jeudy right now, knowing that Sean Payton says we're not trading him, but it sounds like they would trade him for the right offer.
That needs to play out in my mind. There's too much uncertainty there. I haven't considered it a value. I haven't considered it a bargain because you just can't consider it. I'm not, you bring a new coach into this situation, a quarterback that must have a bounce back year, and you've got too much static at the wide receiver position with this team. So I want to leave this alone for right now and get ready for it in the main event and hope, as I really like both players' skill set, Sutton even more than most people do. And I'm going to hope I can figure it out because I think that if Denver has any kind of season, the ball has to go through one of these receivers, if not both of them, Tim.
Craig, your thoughts on Jerry Jeudy right now? And I'll tell you right now, as far as his ADP goes, which is what we care about in the FFPC Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, he's wide receiver 25. He's going off at the 506 right now. Craig, your thoughts on Jerry Jeudy from a redraft perspective?
Yeah, I mean, I like him fine there. I honestly, though, I'm kind of buying Sutton later. I would be a little bit more into him. Just I don't know. This time last year, it was Sutton was the guy, and Judy was the one going later, and now it's kind of flipped. And I kind of like Sutton for a bounce back. Judy's fine though. I see him having a good season also.
All right, so let's talk about this, guys, and I want to get to as many emails as we can. I know we kind of talked about Darren Waller already, so Craig, let me pitch this first email to you, and it is from Doug in Bedford, Mass. What's up, guys? I think the buying window on Deshaun Watson is closing, but do you guys see a bounce back season for him in 2023 as well? He's starting to be drafted as if he's going to have one in the FFPC right now. Thank you to Doug in Bedford, Mass, for watching, listening, and emailing. Deshaun Watson has moved up to quarterback 9. He is now in the 7th round of the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament. Craig, as Doug points out, I do think he's being drafted as if he's going to have a bounce back because last year he was pretty bad when he came on. I'm of the opinion he can't get much worse, but would you want to be in business with Deshaun Watson at the end of the 7th round?
Yeah, it seems a little high just based on the way he performed last season. But, it's one of those guys, you get after the first few quarterbacks being drafted, he does have the upside to perform like at the Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Mahomes level. And he's one of those guys. So I can definitely see why people are taking a shot on him. But, yeah, just a little bit skittish just based on what I saw last year after he hadn't played in so long.
Farrell, Danny in Detroit says, asks, I should say, which player are you more excited about for dynasty purposes, Devin Achane or Kendre Miller? Thank you, Danny in Detroit. Farrell, your thoughts on Achane and Miller?
Landing spot unknown. I'm going with Achane because I like the testing. I like all aspects of the testing. I like what he did. I thought he was successful in what he had to do to lock himself in with the scouts. So yeah, Achane's my guy.
Craig, I look at these two players and I look at the upside with Achane because I think he's the more athletically talented, athletically gifted running back. But I do think Kendre Miller is the type of guy that while he doesn't do anything exceptionally well, he does a lot of things pretty good. And if I'm drafting in the late 2nd or early 3rd round and these guys are out there, I tend to look at the player who could help me for like a 3-week window, a 2-week window, maybe in a 4-week window. I think Kendre Miller is much more likely to do that than Achane, even though Achane represents the higher ceiling. So I would lean towards Kendre Miller, even though that's the less attractive option of the two, as Farrell pointed out. But your thoughts on Achane versus Miller this year from what you know in your research on them?
Yeah. Honestly, I don't have a whole lot of background on either of them right now. Kind of waiting for the draft. I probably should have come on this show after the draft to give you my thoughts on these guys. But yeah.
Listen, Craig, everybody says that, okay? Because we're all in the dark.
We thought that you were sort of, jamming a little bit when you went offline there. We thought you were doing a little work.
Craig was doing his research. No question. But okay, so Craig, let me ask you this, because these are players that you have seen before, and this is the final email we're going to leave the viewers with tonight. Ted in Bakersfield, California. Which receiver would you rather draft in the FFPC Never Too Early tournament? DK Metcalf in Seattle or Chris Olave in New Orleans? Craig, which one would you rather have?
Yeah, I'm going to go with, I guess, Olave there. I still kind of feel like, Metcalf's great. But, I still kind of view both Metcalf and Lockett as kind of a 1A situation there where, I would rather, honestly, I like the value on Lockett more, I guess, later. Whereas Olave, I don't have a whole lot of confidence in the Michael Thomas bounce back at this point. And really, you could see him, I think, taking that next step and just really being an alpha receiver there in New Orleans.
Farrell, I totally agree with Craig. And I'll say this, too. I think that Tyler Lockett has perennially been underrated by FFPC drafters over the last 4 or 5 years. And I think DK Metcalf gets propped up because of that. Chris Olave, I'm willing to roll the dice on this year for a couple of reasons. Number one, his quarterback play is going to be a lot better. Number two, this is going to be a sophomore year in the league. We see these players take a leap. He was a 1,000-yard receiver last year, so it should be getting even better and better. And I am not, like Craig, I am not a believer in Michael Thomas. I understand why there's reason to be positive about this guy, and there's everything to love about him, coming back this year. But the age, the injuries, I think is too much. So I am betting against Michael Thomas. It's a bet I could lose, but I feel pretty comfortable betting against Michael Thomas, betting on Chris Olave, and the fact that he gets Derek Carr this year. I'm very, very excited for him. These guys are going very close in drafts right now. This is not a situation where I'd be like, okay, I want to divvy up these guys 50-50 in all my leagues. I think I'm much more closer to like 75-25 or even 80-20 in favor of Olave over Metcalf this year. Commish, your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm right there with you guys. We identified Olave as a player last year that we said was most ready to contribute in the NFL of all the rookie receivers, and we hit it right square out of the park with what we needed, even with the quarterback situations that they had to live with. So I think perhaps for best ball, I might be hesitant. I might answer that question this. If I'm in the third round, middle of the third round, and both receivers are there, and I don't have a receiver yet, I might take Metcalf. But if I had the receiver in the first round or even second, I would probably go with Olave. And I that's just a feel thing that if I've gone running back, quarterback, tight end in those first two rounds, Metcalf just feels like for the build that I can take him there in the never too early and then get Lockett later and get both players and have that position. I love the New Orleans receiving score, and I love the tight end. And the league is full of redemption stories, and Thomas is a long shot redemption story, but people believe in him in that front office despite all the drama that he has caused them. It's not because they're over invested in him, it's because they like the player, understand what he did, and we know that when he was part of this team, is 150 targets and leading the league in receiving. Nobody expects that. But I think being around this quarterback, who's one of the best leaders in all of football, that he's going to elevate everyone in that locker room. And if Thomas is not on board, the other guys will be. But I hope Thomas is.
Guy, we are always on board with, whether it's FFPC analysis, KFFSC analysis, is Craig Campbell. C. Campbell FF on Twitter, a guy who won $100,000 in the FFPC last year, 2 years ago, beg your pardon, and a guy who won a half dozen FFPC leagues last year. He won them. He doesn't even realize it, people. That's how good he is in fantasy football, not to mention all his success in the KFFSC. Craig, I can't wait to talk to you again. This was certainly a great time that we get anytime we get you on the show to pick your brain. I'll see you in Louisville, and I will wish you good luck in all your FFPC and KFFSC leagues this season. Thanks so much for making us a part of your Friday night, dude.
Appreciate it, guys. Yep. Have a great weekend. Talk to you later.
Thank you. Right. Craig Campbell, ladies and gentlemen. The man, the myth, the legend. Glad to have at C. Campbell FF on the program tonight. A guy, Farrell, you probably couldn't even count on two hands how many Kentucky leagues he's won over the years.
Yeah, he's done so very well. And the thing about it is he's always in it.
Yes.
Whether he wins it, he's always there.
Mm-hmm.
And he's just, when he's not, and when he's not there directing the room, I teased him tonight about not being there for Super Bowl. He was there the first year we had it, but my point is that he's one of those guys that you really miss when he's not there. And
right.
That's part of what that's part of what our league about. That's part of what the FFPC is about. You go there with the idea that you're going to run into certain guys, and so when they're not in the room. And, man, you know what? When you can play against a guy like that and beat a guy like that, then you know you're doing something right.
That's 100% accurate on that. And a guy that we never like not having in the HSFF Hour room is Farrell Elliott. KFFSC.com is where to go. April 11th, the Always Dreaming division of the Run to Daylight Sweet 16 Championship is drafting. You're going to have at least what looks like 4 drafts after that, including a slow draft. So make sure you're getting over
We're eventually gonna have 8 of them. Whether or not there's demand to fill it pre-draft, it's hard to determine right now. And we have not aggressively marketed it. We're just kind of letting see where we go with it, because we'll get it in. We'll get the 96 team league in with the $200 buy-in for it, and it will be great. Balky, how are you celebrating Easter?
did I tell you this last week that my wife is on a cruise, or did I not tell you this?
You did, but that's the celebration continues.
The celebration continues for me and my kids. She will not be back until Monday. So Easter Sunday, I'm sure it will be full of Easter egg hunts, some church, and then I'll probably check out some baseball, Masters, and NASCAR that day as well. Fantasy football drafting, perhaps. We shall see if I can carve out enough time in my day hanging out with my kids for that as well. But I'm very excited.
Yeah, you should be.
I'm also excited to talk with Farrell Elliott, the definitive commissioner of fantasy football. KFFSC.com. Sign up for the main event right now. A $25,000 grand prize is at stake. Follow the KFFSC on Twitter, KFFSC official, KFFSC.com. Farrell, be good. Happy Easter, and we will talk with you again next Friday, dude.
See you, brother.
That is going to do it for our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks to Craig Campbell, Farrell Elliott, the FFPC, Rob, Bryce, and, of course, each and every one of you. We'll be back next Friday with Farrell Elliott and 18-time FFPC league champion Jason Philpott, who has not only won a lot of leagues over the last several years, he is drafting a lot in the early drafts as well. So he's going to have a lot of input on not only rookies, but everything that's going on there and who you need to draft in order to cash that $25,000 grand prize in the Never Too Early tournament and the $1 million grand prize in the Fantasy Pros Championship. In case you missed it on Tuesday night, watch the RotoViz High Stakes Lowdown with Tim Gilbertson, a winner of 10 FFPC Dynasty Leagues in his career. That's on FFPC Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, including this channel that you're watching on right now. And, of course, rotoviz.com/podcast if you want the audio-only version or anywhere you get podcasts. The High Stakes Fantasy Football Show on the Better Sports Network will go again live Thursday night at 7/6 Central on bettersports.com. In case you missed it last night, JJ Zachariason from lateround.com had a lot of great stuff on a lot of rookies in this year's NFL drafting, and check that out, bettersports.com. $25,000 is the grand prize in the Never Too Early Best Ball Tournament, just a $125 entry fee at myffpc.com. Those drafts will go all the way up to the start of the NFL draft, which is less than 3 weeks away, and it will be a 14-week regular season, 3 rounds of playoffs, and then we crown the $25,000 champ after that. 30-second, 60-second, 2-hour, and 6-hour drafts are available at myffpc.com. Go to myffpc.com to register for the Fantasy Pros Championship. $350 is the entry fee, and yet you could win $1 million. First time we've ever offered that ever in the history of the FFPC. You're looking at 2-hour, 6-hour, and 60-second clocks there, and we'll have drafts going on all weekend. I'll be commissioning a lot of those this weekend, so I will see you in the draft rooms there if you sign up for that, which you should before June 1st, because if you sign up before June 1st and draft before June 15th, you will get a free $35 FFPC league credit added to your account. MyFFPC.com is where to go for that, and you can get that up to 3 times. That's over $100 in FFPC league credits there. Adopt a Dynasty Orphan team today at MyFFPC.com. You're going to see some great reduced price teams there, as low as $1. The entry fees for those normally are from $77 up to $2,500, and you can get teams much, much less than that right now if you want to take advantage. Like I said, I'm still riding the euphoria of picking up a Dynasty team today. I encourage you to do the same at myffpc.com. We also have $100 startup drafts there, so if you want to set sail on a maiden Dynasty voyage, you can do that. myffpc.com is where to go for that. You can also win $1 million. I already said that. $1 million in the Fantasy Pros Championship. Win $1 million in the main event at myffpc.com as well. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, comment, share, and get notified. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. We will be back with you next Friday right here, same time, same place on my youtube.com/FFPC Fantasy. Be good. We'll see you in the draft rooms this weekend. Thanks for watching, everybody.
This has been another episode of the High Stakes Fantasy Football Hour presented by MyFFPC.com. It was broadcast live and was watched around the world. Balky and Farrell will be back next week with more analysis, more interviews, and more advice from guests much smarter than they are. Thanks for watching, and we'll talk with you again next week.
As a reminder for everybody out there who is celebrating this weekend, I want to wish you a happy Easter. To everybody, it's a great sports weekend. And I always say this too, anytime you get, I don't know how many NASCAR fans out there, but you get the Bristol Dirt Track again for the third straight year. That is going to be a lot of fun Easter Sunday night. You're going to get the Masters, which is probably going to go, if we have good enough weather, it's going to be going on Sunday, probably going to be going on Monday as well. And obviously baseball is going on. I always say that one of the best parts of having all these great sports go on, NBA playoffs are going to be starting shortly, is to have that two-screen experience. There's nothing better than consuming all these other great sports while drafting fantasy football teams at the same time. You're watching this, you know that fantasy football is king, and it's going to be a great weekend to do it this weekend while we consume all these other great sports. Happy Easter, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you on Friday.